Hello everyone. So my name is Victoria Caseborn and we are very, very lucky to be joined by Elizabeth O'Shea today, who has agreed to give up her evening to tell us all about strategies on how to bully-proof your child. So for those watching, there's a little bit of a delay with Google Hangouts, but if you do want to ask any questions at any time, please do use the group, the events group. Just pop a little note in there and then I can relay that to Elizabeth. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll just be monitoring for any questions. So I'm going to hand straight over to Elizabeth. She's got some great content to share. She's prepared us a presentation to take us through the 10 steps. So Elizabeth, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello.
Shall I take off my my screen share for a minute? Can you see me now?
I can, yeah. So hopefully everyone else can.
Lovely. Good.
So thank you for tonight. I'm really excited. I've got a little 2.5-year-old, so I'm particularly interested in the toddler bit. But I know that you deal with age, applicable through all the ages, isn't it? The strategies.
Yeah. So literally from 2 right up to 18.
Exciting, fantastic.
Good.
Lovely. Okay. I'll hand over to you, Elizabeth, if you're happy to, and I'll just keep a monitor on questions, and then if you want to sort of, I'll mute myself and just hand over to you, basically.
Perfect. Lovely. Well, I'm going to go over to my screen, so we'll go to that now, and we'll make a start. Lovely. Okay. Great. Okay. So, first of all, good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm really pleased to be here today with Victoria to share some really useful tips on how to bully-proof your child. It's really nice to have you on the session today, so thank you for coming. You're in the right place today if you want a few extra pointers to help your child cope better with teasing, or if you or your child are worried about bullying, if your child's been bullied in the past, or if they're being bullied at the moment and you really want to know what to do about it. If any of those are true for you, then you'll find the talk today really useful. In fact, there was a bullying survey done recently by Beat Bullying, and it was the largest survey of its kind, and 69% of children said they'd been bullied and 85% had seen other children being bullied. So bullying is a big problem and it's likely to affect your child at some point. So why am I talking to you as a parent and not doing this video for your child or for the school? Well, the reason is that it's important for you to have the skills to deal with bullying, because you're basically your child's most important teacher. If you can teach your child how to handle bullying, you'll be able to help your child not only now, but in the years to come, every time someone tries to pick on your son or daughter. And there's not a lot out there to help parents deal with it. It can be hard to know the right thing to do. So during the session today, I'm going to share some really practical things you can do straight away to help your child feel more confident they can handle a bully if they were picked on in the future, and to show you what you can do now if your child is being bullied. If you've got any questions, pop them in the Facebook group and I'll answer as many as I can at the end. Thank you for those people who have already put some questions in. And I'm hoping the talk will last for about 45 to 50 minutes, and then I'll answer the questions afterwards. So if you could shut yourself off for the next hour, that would be great. And I know Victoria's already mentioned it would be really useful if you could have a pen and paper handy, ready to jot down notes as we go along, and to do an exercise at the end. So if you haven't already got a pen and paper, could you just get that handy? So why am I here talking about bully proofing? I've got 4 children and 3 of them were bullied at school. I've seen the sort of impact it can have when they couldn't sleep at night, they became irritable and moody, and they get upset over the smallest of things. And every time it happened, I thought my job was to protect the children from bullies. So I'd go and see their teacher and really make the school responsible for dealing with the bully. And then something happened that made me realise that I needed to help my children deal with it themselves. One of my daughter, who was 13 at the time, well, she was sitting in the playroom and she looked really sad, and I asked her what the matter was, and she said, "Oh, nothing." And I thought, it's obviously not nothing. And I asked her again what was wrong, and she showed me a Facebook conversation that she was looking at. two of her so-called friends at school were telling a third child how they'd ridiculed my daughter for supposedly being lesbians with a friend. And I'll just tell you how the conversation went. Please excuse the language. But the first child wrote, we were teasing them for being lesbo because it really did look like they were, but we were just pissing around. And the second child wrote, then they went and made out in the library. And the first one said, yeah, they just proved our point. Not a smart move, just made them piss them off more. And the second child wrote, exactly, all the little whisperings to each other at lunch. Want to make out? Not yet, the world can't know our secret. So, usual snogging in the toilets. And the first child then added, haha, funny times. And not only had my daughter been tormented at school, but there was the conversation on Facebook for everybody to see. And I was really angry. The girls used to be friends with my daughter at primary school. And although I really wanted to deal with it myself, I realised I had to help my daughter deal with it. I had to help her learn how to deal with bullies. So I sat down with her and I asked her to think of all the things she could do to sort it out. And I let her think of as many ideas as she could to solve the problem. And I wrote them all down, and then I added a few suggestions at the end and asked her which one she'd like to choose. And she chose to phone a friend. Actually, it was a friend who knew both of the girls involved. So she rang this friend and she told her that I'd found out about the bullying and that I was going to go to the school in the morning. And that had been one of the options. And she said that I was going to go and talk to the head of year about it and how worried she was. And as she predicted, the friend phoned the two girls straight away to warn them. And minutes later, her mobile rang. She didn't answer because she was really upset at the time. But one of the girls left a message apologising. And then text messages started coming in from both the girls, and the home phone rang, and then emails started to arrive and Facebook messages, and they were just saying, I'm so sorry, it won't happen again, and asking my daughter if she could show me the messages so I wouldn't need to go to the school. And my daughter spent the rest of the evening with a big smile on her face. Her plan had worked, and she was happy again, feeling she'd worked out what to do. And it was a real lesson for me on how important it is to let children feel their own personal power. The way she giggled that evening made me realise that I needed to help my children develop the skills to solve problems and deal with bullying themselves, because I couldn't protect them for the rest of their lives. So I spent hours looking for the best information on the internet about bullying. I bought books that teach children about bullies, and I learned what I needed to do as a mum to stop my children being targeted from bullies. And I want you to have that skill too, to bully-proof your child. So I just want to tell you a tiny bit about myself. Some of you here today already know me, and some of you have heard about me through Victoria. So I'm Elizabeth O'Shea, and for the last 8 years I've been helping parents really to manage their children's behaviour and find ways to get through difficulties. So one of the reasons I can talk about parenting is that I've got 4 children. At one time I had a newborn baby, a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I know what works and what doesn't work, and I've tried it on all of them. I didn't always know how to deal with bullies. When my children were younger, I was just like you, wanting to do my best but not always sure how. And now I'm a qualified trainer. I've trained to run 4 different types of parenting courses. I'm one of the UK's leading parenting specialists. I've got a blog and I get about 10,000 visitors a month to the website. I speak regularly on BBC Radio and TV and Sky News talking about parenting issues. And one of the main things I do is show parents how to solve any issue with their child at home or at school. So if a child isn't sleeping, or they're really anxious or angry, or they've got special needs, or their parents are divorcing, or there's any behaviour that's causing a problem, I work out what skills parents need to tackle it, and I teach them the skills doing one-to-one parenting sessions, face-to-face or on Skype. And some of the parents that have come to me because their child is being bullied, and with children as young as 3, and I've shown them how to help their child deal with it. So I know that this stuff works. I've even written a program called the 10 Steps to Bully Proof Your Child, and I'm going to go through as much as I can of that program today. So today, the things that we're going to cover are a really quick look at understanding bullying, what it is and why it happens, what you can do as a parent if your child is being bullied, 10 steps to teach your child to make them bully proof, and if it's okay with you, I'll tell you how to find out more about bully proofing your child. So let's look first at understanding bullying. So what is a bully? The Oxford Dictionary says A bully is a person who uses strength or influence to harm or intimidate those who are weaker. Bullying's different from your child falling out with a friend, or someone saying something mean to your child, or your child having an argument or fight with someone. The thing that makes it bullying is where it happens repeatedly and where there's a power difference. So the other child tries to use their power or influence over your child to make them feel awful or helpless. Often it isn't really clear that your child is being bullied. Sometimes it is, but often there are small things that are going on and you're not sure whether it's just children falling out and your child is as much to blame as the other child. But what we're looking at is how to make sure that it doesn't have a negative effect on your child. If it's having that negative effect, it needs to stop. And sometimes it's better to talk about someone picking on your child rather than someone bullying them, because some children have really fixed ideas about what bullying is, but they can understand what being picked on means. So why do children bully? I'm going to have to start by saying children are little people who are experimenting with behaviour. Most children that are accused of bullying aren't real bullies. They just don't know how to handle difficulties and they lash out and they suddenly find themselves in trouble. However, there are bullies out there. Some children will have found that bullying gives them that sense of power. When they can get a great reaction out of a child just by picking on them, they find it fun. And they start to be more consistent about picking on children who are weaker or who give them a good reaction. So, what can you do as a parent if your child is being bullied? When you think about it, you want your child to be able to deal with bullies when you're not around. If you think that your job is to protect your child from bullies, you need to be at your child's side 24 hours a day, which isn't really feasible. So you have to give them the skills to protect themselves. And the first thing I'm going to say is, don't treat your child as a victim. Your child needs you to believe that they're powerful, able to work out their own problems, able to deal with people who bully them. If your child is being bullied, the best thing is to help them deal with it with your guidance. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, give a man a fish and he eats for a day, teach a man to fish and he eats for a lifetime. It means that if you take over responsibility for protecting your child from a bully, you may protect them that day, but if you teach your child the bully-proofing steps, you'll teach them to protect themselves. You'll be helping them for a lifetime. There's going to be bullies in every school and every university and in most workplaces. So you need to teach your child the skills that they need to deal with them by your example, by your conversation, and by talking them through what they need to do if they have a problem. However, dealing with a bully does not mean that they should keep the bullying to themselves. They need you to listen, to empathise, to help them work out how to handle the bully, to check how things are going when they use the bully-proofing skills. And you might choose to involve the school if that's appropriate. Most schools do like to be informed of bullying so that they can keep an eye on it and keep an eye on the children involved. And it makes sense if the incidents are happening at school to let them know. But I would check if it's okay with your child and tell the school how that your child is hoping to deal with it. And while you're talking to the teacher, try and be really calm. Just stick to the facts. Take along details of the bullying, where it took place, with dates, times, any witnesses. And remember that your child may have done things too. There are two sides to every story, and the school may want to talk to all the children involved. But once you've talked to them, you can lead them to follow their own policies. Different schools tackle bullying in different ways. You can either ask the teacher what's likely to happen so you can let your child know, or just say to them, I'm going to leave this in your capable hands to deal with, and just add that you'll only need to come back to them if the bullying carries on. And then leave them to do what they need to do, and you work on bully-proofing your child. And I'm absolutely not saying that schools should be let off the hook. It's really important for schools to deal with bullying properly. But the most important thing is that you give your child the skills to keep themselves safe. So you need to be watchful, to keep an eye out for signs that your child could be being bullied, because children often don't tell their parents when they're being bullied. They don't tell anyone. If you notice a change in your child's behaviour and they start getting more upset, or quiet or more aggressive than usual or more touchy, or things like their clothes are being torn, or you notice that things of theirs are going missing, tell them that you noticed and ask if there's anything that could be causing it. And you can say something like, sometimes the things that you're seeing can be because of bullying. And be really sensitive if your child manages to open up. Remember that no matter how angry you're feeling at that moment, your child really needs you just to listen, to empathise, and give them the space to explore what's happened. To start with, just let them talk without trying to fix anything. They just need to be allowed to tell you everything and to have a big cuddle and to let them know that they did the right thing by telling you. Now, most bullying is verbal or emotional, but physical bullying is assault, and that needs to be treated differently. The techniques we're going to go through today will teach your child how to prevent, reduce or stop bullying in most cases, but just in case your child was ever physically attacked, they need to know how to shout for help. So one of the things you can do is get them to practice shouting help really loud and clear, because children get very frightened and they find it really difficult to say that out loud when they're frightened. Teach them that if they're being attacked, they should also look directly at someone who can see what's going on and ask them to get help, because often children or people around, they're confused when they see children fighting, so your child needs to make it really clear that they need help. If your child's ever physically attacked, as soon as you can afterwards, get them to remember everything and write down exactly what happened, so you've got a written account in case you need it as evidence. And then your child will need lots of support, and you may need to talk to other parents or report it to the school or even the police, particularly if it happens outside of school. If your child is reluctant for you to involve other people, you might need to explain that you need to keep them safe. If the bully or the bullies get away with it, this time it will almost certainly happen again. So listen to what they're worried about, let them know you can see they're scared, but tell them that your first responsibility is to protect them from it happening again and possibly other children. So in a minute we're going to look at the 10 steps to bully-proof your child, and lots of the suggestions involve your child being able to talk and think and do things. So what if you have a toddler? Well, it's good to start giving all the messages that we're going to cover to your toddler quite early on, that they can protect him or herself, and that there's some other things that you can do. If your toddler's at nursery and someone takes something off them or hits them, a really good technique to teach them is to say very loudly, "Please give that back, I was playing with it," or "No, don't hit me, that hurts." Immediately it draws attention to your child, and any adults around can see what's going on, and it makes it less likely that your child is going to be picked on. Another thing that's really useful to teach them is how to be assertive, and there's a simple phrase that you can teach children, and I'm going to go through it again later, but it's "I feel," "when" or "because," and "I'd like." So I feel sad when you won't let me play with the ball and I'd like to join in, or I feel upset when you try to snatch the train and I'd like you to wait until I finish playing with it, or I feel angry when you shout at me and I'd like you to talk to me in your normal voice. With a toddler, it's always appropriate to get involved, not to take over, but to coach them through what they can say assertively to the other child, including just something like, "Please can I have it back?" And that's called social coaching. So now we're going to start looking at the 10 steps to bully-proof your child. And before we get going, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Firstly, bullying is a really emotional subject, and you may have been bullied at school, or your child may have been bullied, and as a parent, our natural response is to want to protect our child and punish the bully. And I'm going to ask you to suspend your judgment and for the moment just accept that your child needs to learn how to handle the bully, and your job will be to teach them the skills and then to coach them every step of the way, even when they're upset or sad, until the bullying stops. The second thing is that at the end of the session, I'm going to ask you to make a plan of action to bully-proof your child. I'm going to ask you to write down what each step means and how you can teach that step to your child. And after the session, it would be so useful if you could spend half an hour teaching your child each of the 10 steps. That's 5 hours in total to teach your child how to be bully proof. And that could be some of the best 5 hours you ever spend with your child. Because you know your child better than anyone else, as I go through each step, think to yourself, how could this work for my child, and how can I explain this in a way they'll understand? So make notes as we go through, and so that you're ready to make your plan at the end. Okay, so let's start looking at each step. I'll just read them out and then we'll go through each step in more detail. So 1 is be confident, unafraid, learn about bullies, limit opportunities, you stay positive, plan to be assertive, react casually, oppose the bully, open up about it, and fight for others. So let's go through what each one means, and then you can make your plan to pass it on to your child or your children. So step 1 is be confident. It helps if your child can appear confident. So a good way to start is fake it till they make it. If your child can pretend to be confident, pretty soon they'll start to feel more confident. It's good if they can do activities that they're good at. Perhaps you could find classes that would play to their strengths. To deliberately find ways every day to make their own choices about which of 2 outfits to choose or which cereal to have for breakfast, so that they get used to the idea that they have a choice. To set up challenges for themselves, possibly to dare themselves to do something that they've been worried or scared to do. Next, make a vision board with pictures or words or phrases that inspire them, and you can put them up on a big board, maybe in their bedroom where they can see it. And they could also make a list of all their positive qualities. What you can do is you can make a list with 2 columns. In the first column, the heading could be the best things about me are, and then they can list all their positive qualities and characteristics. And in the second column, they could write I'm good at, and then they can jot down all the things they can do well or talents they have and put it up in their bedroom where they could see it. Or use affirmations. Affirmations are where your child says something positive as if it's already true. So they might say, all right, things like, I'm powerful, I'm bully proof, I'm confident and relaxed, I can do this, I believe in myself, I feel great, everything's going to be okay. Gradually, even if it's not quite true at the beginning, it starts to become true. And a really good one is to say, I'm lovable, or I am enough when they look in the mirror. Step 2 is unafraid. This is about refusing to allow the bully to harm them. Because when your child works out how to protect themselves from insults and nasty comments, they're just so much harder to bully. You can help your child understand that just because the bully says something doesn't mean your child needs to accept it or even believe it. When someone says something negative about your child, it's their problem, not your child's. People who are angry or hurt or jealous, well, they lash out and they say hurtful things, and it says more about the bully's state of mind than about your child. It helps if your child can picture an imaginary bully-proof vest as a protective bubble or a shield, and it's up to your child what they let past the bully-proof vest. Teach them that people can fire hurtful comments at them, but while your child is wearing the bully-proof vest, they don't need to let the insults get past them. What you can do is they can choose to respond to it, they can choose to believe it, but they don't have to. They can just leave it on the ground. If the bully's being rude and insulting your child, with the bully-proof vest on, your child can learn that they have a choice. They can just say, I'm not willing to stay here and listen to this, and walk away. They don't even need to stand there and listen. If your child can treat the things a bully says as background noise or irrelevant, they're not going to be affected by the words that are used. And if they realise they don't care or believe what the bully says, they can just ignore it. You can also help by building up their mental muscle. You can have regular chats about bullying and play the what if game. What would you do if someone called you an idiot or slow or fat or gay? And you can have regular conversations about bullying so that your child has every opportunity to solve things before they even happen. Step 3 is learn about bullies. When your child can understand why children bully others, the power the bully has gets smaller and your child can start to treat them differently. I already said that lots of children are accused of bullying. Actually, they just have poor social skills and they're experimenting with behaviour. But if it isn't stopped, some children go on to be real bullies. And bullies are children who are hurting and feel insecure, and they've learnt the wrong way to get their needs met. Bullies feel angry inside, often about how they're treated at home. They may well be being bullied themselves. They feel jealous of children who have more than they do or who get better grades. So they're often nasty to them. They want some control. They try to make others do something they don't want to or to feel bad so that they can get that sort of control. They try to make themselves feel important by making other children feel weak or damaged so that they can feel higher up the pecking order. They feel angry inside and just want to lash out at someone, so they choose someone who's different in any way. It doesn't even matter how. They have a low self-esteem, so they draw attention to other children's weaknesses to distract themselves away from noticing their own flaws. They've got a lot of pent-up feelings of being insecure or angry or worried, so they're more irritable than other children and less tolerant of differences, and they kind of want other people to change rather than changing the way they think. They've got poor social skills and relationship skills. They haven't learned tolerance and give and take or compromise or how to work out solutions. They try to get what they want by being aggressive. They insult, physically hurt, intimidate, they start rumours or maybe do cyberbullying, and they lack compassion. Eventually it becomes a game to them where they can feel important away from being noticed, and the more they get away with it, the more they do it. There's often something going on in their home life to make them feel that way. Bullies are children who are wanting love and affection and attention and aren't getting enough, so they settle for the bad attention and that fear because that's better than feeling ignored and insignificant. You can talk to your child about why children bully, what's really going on for them, and how they haven't learned those social skills and haven't learned to get the respect they want by being respectful of other people. And how your child treats the bully can then affect how the bully treats them. What you want to do is help them see the bully as more human so that they feel some compassion and regain that ability to act naturally and confidently rather than be frightened of them. Step 4 is to limit the opportunities for being bullied. So it's important that your child becomes streetwise and learns how to avoid bullies. Bullying often happens in secluded areas where the bully is alone with the victim, so it makes sense for your child to figure out strategies to avoid being a victim of bullying, to go to the cloakroom or toilets with a friend, take different routes to school, play near adults or where there's other people around, sit where they can easily be seen by the driver if they're on the school bus, avoid being in a secluded place where people can't see them, and avoid bringing into school expensive equipment or a top-of-the-range mobile. If they were to be chased, it's good to make sure that they know to run to the nearest populated area, like a shop. And it's about common sense ways to prevent the chance of being bullied. It's about knowing that bullies don't want an audience unless it's friends that they're trying to impress. However, it's important that your child doesn't spend their time just trying to avoid a bully, because that would make them anxious and it can restrict their ability to learn and play. So limiting opportunities for bullies needs to be used with the other strategies that will eventually reduce the bullying. Step 5 is you stay positive. This is where your child lets go of the negative thoughts that eat away at them. Your child can't change the fact that in the real world, some people are bullies. You see it in the animal kingdom all the time. One animal becomes the leader because they're stronger, and it's human nature to want to feel powerful. And bullying is how some children get that feeling. But your child can change how they think. If a bully makes a nasty remark about them, they get upset. Your child might think, well, I'm going to blame the bully for that. She made me angry, or he made me frightened, or Alternatively, they could think, I let myself get angry. I let him frighten me. The bully doesn't have a remote control to your child's brain that forces them to feel bad. You can help them think differently to stop them feeling hurt. It's about letting go of the need to take on board anyone else's opinion unless they want to, and refusing to get upset or resentful about the bully. Resentment just eats away at your child. It doesn't hurt the bully. There's a brilliant quote by Nelson Mandela, which is, resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. If your child has been bullied and keeps thinking about the person who hurt them and how unfair it is, they'll find themselves filled with resentment and bitterness. It's bad enough to be picked on, but letting the situation fill their thoughts affects your child much more than the actual incident. Encouraging your child to learn to forgive and move on will help them get on with their life, not to let the bully off the hook, but to help your child reduce the effect the bullying has on them. It will make your child happier, it'll be better for their physical and their mental health. And after all, if your child can be happy, that's what you want. The bully wants your child to worry and be scared of them. So if they can keep the bully out of their thoughts and stay happy, that's the best outcome for your child. Step 6 is plan to be assertive, because it's so much harder to bully someone who looks and acts assertively. So to help your child, you need to spend some time with them learning how an assertive person looks and what an assertive person says, so that your child can practice and feel comfortable and know how to behave if they're bullied. So how can your child behave assertively? Well, you can encourage them to keep their chin up and look ahead, to stand or sit up tall with their head up. Get your child to practice standing tall with their shoulders back and down, with a relaxed body. Keep their facial expressions relaxed, not laughing or angry. You might want to get your child to look in the mirror to practice that. Keep eye contact. Encourage your child to make eye contact with anyone that's talking to them, just occasionally shifting their gaze so that they're not staring. Speak with a calm voice, talking slowly and clearly and loud enough to be heard. Use a confident tone of voice. Put their hands down by their side with their palms open and not with their arms folded or with their hands on their hips. To think before they reply. It's okay to pause before they speak. To avoid threatening the bully, because that will only make the bullying worse, not better. If they threaten the bully, it can make things worse. Avoid name calling or insults. Once again, it's not going to help to stop the bully. Avoid pointing or making threatening gestures. Use I messages, so I feel hurt when you tease me because of my hair and I'd like you to stop it. And not you messages such as you're mean, why can't you stop picking on me? They need to make their reply short and simple, something like please stop it, and repeat their reply if they need it, like the broken record technique. So they just stay calm and say something like, no, I'd rather not. No, I'd rather not. Step 7 is react casually, and this is probably the most important step of all for your child to learn. Reacting by getting angry and upset and trying to make the bully stop will encourage a bully to carry on. Bullies are looking for a reaction, and if they don't get it, it stops being fun. So what can your child do? They can look as if they're listening calmly and look completely unaffected by anything the bully says. No matter what they're feeling inside, they can say something neutral, the sort of reaction that says, I really couldn't care less, or they could make the bully laugh. When a bully tries to provoke your child, reacting casually, it diffuses the situation, either making it into a joke or sounding like what the bully said is the least interesting thing in the world. So if a bully called your child an idiot or insulted them, what could they say? Yes, but I'm good at it. So, really? You don't say. You think so? Yes, you're right. I'm not really interested. Thanks for telling me. It's really important that once your child starts reacting casually that they keep up, because a bully may try and push a bit harder if your child's reacted strongly before. So the bully may get worse before they actually give up trying to get your child upset. So how else could your child react casually? Another example would be if a bully was pushing your child. If your child reacts by getting really upset, the pushing will get harder. But if they do nothing and go back and stand next to the bully, they may get another little push, but probably not much more after that. Running away and getting upset will just encourage the bully to carry on. And if your child's school bag was taken, it's natural to want to get it back by chasing after it. If your child can act as if they're uninterested and wait until the bullies get bored, it will be much less fun for the bullies, although it may be really inconvenient. In the long run, not reacting will reduce that bullying in the future. And you can take it one step further. Your child can question the bully and can help clear up any misunderstandings that maybe cause the bully to start picking on them. So they could say, why would you call me an idiot and try to hurt my feelings? Have I done something to hurt or upset you? And if your child has done something, then they should apologise. You may be surprised by the next suggestion, but being humorous can make it much less likely that your child is bullied. It shows the bully that not only is your child not getting upset, they're even making jokes, which makes them look a lot more relaxed. It changes the dynamic, so your child could say, you think I'm bad? You should see my mum, or you should see my grandma. A bully is looking for the chink in the armour, the thing that's going to get another child riled or upset. And often children will take insults about themselves, but will get much more upset if the insults are aimed at family members. So if your child can make jokes about themselves or their family, it helps, because a bully enjoys getting that negative reaction. If your child can pretend to see the funny side of it, the bully's more likely to leave your child alone or think your child's okay and stop picking on them, both of which would be really good for your child. Step 8 is oppose the bully. If a bully threatens your child or tries to make them do something they don't want to do, your child needs to say no. If your child does what the bully wants, it makes them much more likely to be bullied in the future because it rewards the bully. Your child needs to be firm and politely insist that they won't do what the bully asks. So if they're in a difficult situation and they're being pressurised, you could tell your child to say, I'll have to think about it and I'll get back to you. Another stalling tactic is to pretend they don't really understand and check exactly what's being asked. Let me see. If I understand you correctly, you want me to give you my lunch money or whatever it is. In general, saying no is a really good option, but being able to say no to a bully takes practice. Once again, teach your child to say in a really offhand way, no, I'd prefer not to, I'd rather not. And they can leave it there. Or explain why it's a bad idea, or make a joke, or give a reason why they can't. And then, when they've said no firmly and clearly, encourage your child to walk off, just walk away. Step 9 is open up, because it's always good to have a sensible adult keeping an eye on the situation, ready to step in if you're needed. Some children suffer in silence for years because they don't feel safe telling their parents or a teacher about the fact they're being bullied. So why does that happen? Often bullies are manipulators and they try to make their victims feel that what they say is true, which results in the victim feeling insecure or embarrassed or thinking that they deserve the bullying. Bullies pick on a weakness where a child already has issues, and that's especially true if a child has special needs or if they've done anything wrong. Because kids want to preserve their reputation or protect people they love, so they stay quiet, or the bully threatens dire consequences to them or their family if they tell, or the child who's being bullied doesn't want to worry or upset their parents, or they think that their parents are going to react and make things worse. So the cycle needs to be broken, and when you know about it, you can help your child tackle the bullying and help them monitor what responses work and what doesn't work, and be on their side, part of their team. When your child has a strategy to deal with the bullying, they'll feel more powerful. So for this step, it's really important to explain to your child why it's important that they tell you about any bullying, so you can help them deal with it. They need to be sure that you'll listen and be supportive, and that you won't get angry or try to take over. You need to prove to your child that they did the right thing in telling you, and that they can trust you and that you'll help them sort it out and get involved if they want you to. They also need to know that telling someone about the bullying isn't going to make the situation worse, so reassure them. You could say that you'd want to know about the bullying and that initially you might feel angry and that you'd want to talk about the options and you'd discuss with your child the best way to deal with that situation. And step 10 is fight for others, because nothing makes a child feel more powerful than if they can help other children. And they'll remember the bully proofing skills so much better if they can learn it with the idea of maybe helping their friends or helping other children who are being bullied. So do you think you could teach your child how to be the one who stands up for other children? If a child who's being bullied doesn't feel able to tell a teacher on their own, perhaps your child could offer to go with them and see the teacher. Or if your child's worried about another child's being not safe, they may want to tell the teacher themselves and maybe just say what happened or what they know and then leave the teacher to investigate. If your child saw someone being bullied, a really good strategy is to walk up to the victim, turn them away and walk off away from the bully and say something like, "There you are, I've been looking for you. Mrs. Brown sent me to find you," or maybe just to get a teacher quickly. These are the sort of strategies that you can share with your child and maybe ask them what they could think of, how they could intervene, or research things on the internet. Then think, how could your child teach another child the bully proofing steps? How could they help another child who's being bullied? What could they do to say or persuade the child to talk to a teacher or parent? If your child can help others protect themselves against bullying, they'll feel they're doing the right thing and it will really boost their self-esteem. It will make them feel much less of a victim and they'll be much harder to bully in the future. So now we've looked at all the steps, it's really good to work out how you could teach each step to your child so that they're ready if another child tried to pick on them. So what I'd love you to do is get your pen and paper now. I'll leave this list up so you can see all of the 10 steps. Can you write down first what each step means in your own words, and secondly, how you can help your child with each step? If you're going to teach your child each step in 10, 30-minute sessions, how could you do that? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that now, to write down for each step what it means and how you'll help your child with each step. I'm just going to play some music while you do that. Ten more seconds. Okay, good. So if you haven't finished, you complete that after the session today. And just before we look at how you're going to put that into practice, I did say that if you were interested, I'd tell you how you can find out more. I've had to skim over a lot of things today so I can give you the best overview of how to bully-proof your child. But I'm sure you'll have realised by now how important it is to help your child with the skills to become bully-proof. If you feel confident doing that, that's great. However, some of you may have found the exercises difficult or really want to understand the steps in more detail. As I said earlier, this is really important. In the bullying survey, nearly 7 out of 10 children have been bullied. And bullying can be frightening, humiliating, or worrying. It can stop your child sleeping well. It can make your child angry, or irritable, or upset, or moody. And as I said, many children don't tell their parents about bullying because they feel too scared or embarrassed. Many children who've been bullied have thoughts of ending it all, and for some children it gets so bad that they do end up taking their own lives. There's about 20 deaths a year in the UK, and I'm sure you've seen articles in the paper about children locally who've committed suicide because of bullying. And I hate the thought that any child could ever get that desperate, which is why I've made a video training package called 10 Steps to Bully-Proof Your Child, so you can teach your child those skills now and prevent any of that happening to your child. You can get the programme by going to www.parentforsuccess.com/bullyproofyourchild, with dashes in between bully-proof and your child. It's got 2 60-minute videos, and the first one is called Bully Proofing, a Guide for Parents, where you'll find out what you can say to your child, how to talk to the school, the best things you can say and do to help your child through bullying. It covers the things that we've covered today in more detail. It covers other things that I haven't managed to touch on, how to help your child become more confident, and how to get them to open up to you if they are bullied. And the second video is on 10 steps to bully-proof your child, where you'll go into more detail about the 10 steps to help your child with these skills before bullying ever becomes a problem, and to prevent bullying ever becoming an issue for your child. And I'll also show you how to protect your child from cyberbullying. The programme includes 2 complete transcripts of each of the videos, so you can print them off, and you might even want to have them handy when you're planning your sessions. It includes 2 audio recordings of the session, so you can listen again and again in the car or on the move and really cement your understanding of what to do, and 2 workbooks so that you can do the little exercises in the videos and write how to apply what you learn in the videos to your child. It comes with a 100% money back guarantee, so if you're not completely satisfied with the programme, I'll give you your money back. The cost of the programme is $49, and I do it in American dollars because the majority of people who visit my website are from America, and if I sell it in dollars instead of pounds, it's even better value. So if you're in the UK, at today's exchange rate, it works out at about £28.60, which really is just the cost of a night out, perhaps a meal, maybe a few drinks. But what I'm offering you here is something that will really help your child, not only now, but for years to come, to the teenage years and beyond. The programme's really affordable because I want to make it as accessible to as many people as I can. As a mum, I remember the night when one of my daughters, she was about 9 then, and she was sobbing because she couldn't get to sleep that night. She was really upset at being bullied, and it was something really silly. Her best friend had fallen out with her and had persuaded about 4 or 5 other girls that my daughter was poisonous, so they shouldn't breathe in when my daughter was near, so they all tried to visibly hold their breath every time my daughter came near. And she got herself into a real state, and I'd have done anything to help her. If someone had offered me this programme at that point, I'd have spent 10 times that. And I don't want you to ever see your child like that, especially if you can avoid it by getting the programme now. So I've tried to make the price as reasonable as I can because I think every parent should have access to this. And because you've come through Victoria today, I'd like you to offer the programme at 25% off that price. So if you just type in the code Victoria in capital letters into the coupon code box, you'll get 25% off. You'll get it for about $36, which is about £21.50 in British money. So as soon as you're ready, you go to the link www.parentforsuccess.com/bullyproofyourchild, scroll down to the bottom and click on the Buy Now button, and you get taken to this next page. Just type in Victoria in the coupon code box, click Apply, check it says $36, which is about £21.50 in pounds, and then click Checkout if you want to pay by credit card or check out with PayPal. So before we finish this evening, it's really important to arrange some time with your child to carry out your plan. This training session will only be useful if you pass the skills on to your child. That's crucial. How do you want to do the 10-30-minute sessions? Do you want to do one a day for the next 10 days or twice a week during the summer holidays so your child is bully proof before they get back to school in September? How can you help your child understand each step and help your child feel really confident about each one? And think, how can you introduce the steps in a way that will make it fun? How could you explain the steps to your child? Could you start a project, Operation Beat the Bully, or Mission Bully Proof Harry, or Amelia, whatever your child's name is? What resources would you need? Could you ask your child whether they'd like to write things in a notebook or have a scrapbook or a computer document or a PowerPoint presentation? It's good if you could make this your child's project, but you can explain all the options and see what they'd like. And if they have been picked on or bullied, would they like to keep a diary to write down any incidents, what they did, what worked and what didn't work, and keep a record of their progress? And lastly, how will you keep the knowledge and skills fresh in the memory? Because children forget things, especially if they're not reinforced. Could you write out all the bully proofing steps and put them on the fridge? Or could you remember to ask your child to go through them regularly and ask what each of the steps involved? What could you do that would help your child learn and remember what they need to keep themselves safe? So I hope that you could plan to teach your child the 10 steps to being bully proof. I can't stress enough how important that these skills will be for your child to learn. Good luck with that. Don't forget, I'm here to help if ever you need to get some specialist help with your child for bullying or for any other problem, hitting or biting or not sleeping or friendship problems, or if you've gone through a divorce. You can always call me, have a free 20-minute phone call or Skype call to see if that would be useful to arrange some parenting sessions. Sometimes it's just good to know that there's a specialist that you can go to if you want help. Don't forget to use the code Victoria to get 25% off, because that voucher is just valid for a week until July the 22nd. And you're welcome to tell your friends about the voucher code too, if you know somebody that you think that would be useful for. Thank you so much for coming on the session today, and we're going to go over to the questions now, so please type those into the Facebook group if you haven't done that already. There's been a couple of questions that were posted earlier, so I'll start with those to give you a chance to write your questions in the chat box. So the first question I have was from Nicola, and Nicola said, what I'd like to know is, how do you teach a confident 3-year-old that if older children, in our case a 4-and-a-half-year-old, purposely does things that he doesn't like or want to do, he doesn't have to? Sounds dubious. They're innocent things at the moment, like not sharing the step in the toilet and making him use the hot tap when we've said not to, or wanting a toy plane when Jake wants to play with that one and was offering another. I want him to be able to stand up to what he wants within reason and not give in. So thank you, Nicola. That was a really good question. And looking at things that are good for a toddler to do, so saying something loudly would be really useful. Using things like the I feel when and I'd like. So I feel frustrated when I want to play with the plane and you take it off me, and I'd like you to wait until I finish playing with it, please. Or saying something like, how can we share it? I'm going to have to say, at the moment, his reactions are actually quite good. Not getting upset is sort of like avoiding a lot of the arguments and problems that he's going to get when he starts standing up to your older child. If you don't want your younger child to do certain things, ask him lots of questions. So, for instance, you could say, if Bobby tells you you can't use the step in the toilet, what can you do? What might happen if you don't use the step? What can you do instead? If he tells you to use the hot tap, what should you do? Why shouldn't you use the hot tap? What else can you do if he says to use the hot tap? What one do you think you'll do if he asks you to do that? And as I said earlier, it's always okay to ask an adult, but make sure that if you get involved, Nicola, it's to help him express himself. So you say, I'm not sure if your youngest child is called Jake, but you could say, Jake, what do you want to say to Bobby? And Bobby, what do you want to say to Jake? How can you sort this out? Which is that social coaching I was talking about. And most importantly, don't make Jake feel like a victim. If you've got two children arguing, you can teach children, you can teach them each to explain their own feelings and concerns, or sort of like, and you can write those down, my facts, my feelings, what one child is feeling, the facts and feelings that the other child is feeling. Then brainstorm solutions, decide on one that both children agree with, and then later on you can follow up and see how that worked. Okay, Emma, you asked a question. You've said, I'm interested in how to deal with name calling and how to keep a child's self-esteem when faced with low-level bullying. Now, I'm going to say with name calling, either just ignore it, because the big one here is that reacting indifferently. So you can stay completely calm and act casually and say, so, really, you don't say, you think so? Or, yes, you're right, or I'm really not interested, thanks for telling me. Or you could do the other ones, which is, why would you call me an idiot and try and hurt my feelings? Have I done something to upset you? And if he has, he could apologise. Or if you think I'm bad, you should see my mum. And what's really useful, now you've been through these 10 steps, is you can go through each step and work out which one would apply. So be confident, that would apply. Make sure that he's got enough confidence so he isn't worried. Unafraid, well, that one would apply. He can just let that insult fall on the floor, or think of it as background noise, or get that bully-proof vest on. Learning about bullies, well, that would be good. Know it's their problem and just treat them normally, they're just kids. Limit opportunities, well, that may or may not be possible. You stay positive and refuse to get upset, that would be appropriate. Plan to be assertive, yeah, all of those steps would be good. React indifferently, that's the main one. Oppose the bully, well, they're not actually asking your child to do something, so that may not be appropriate, but open up about it. Yeah, he needs to tell you. You can react calmly, ask how he's dealing with it, plan what he'll do next time, maybe do some role play with him. And fighting for others, that's about teaching other children how to react calmly. That may or may not be appropriate. Okay, next question. Oh, Richard said, surely the best way is to teach them all of a person's knockout pressure points. Well, thank you for that suggestion, Richard. I hope that I've given you some other ideas to use. But actually, it's understandable. You really want your child to stand up to the bully and to do them some harm, but that could get them into serious trouble. And I hope I've given you some alternatives that would be much more effective. And Laura said, my son has just turned 5 and started school in September. He's had 2 serious bullying experiences which required intervention, and I must say the school was amazing. I'm worried about the mark these experiences have had on him, and I want to find a balance between dealing with low-level bullying himself and bringing in an adult to help him. She says, fortunately, he's very confident, but I think this leaves him open to being bullied by older children in particular. And Laura, first of all, I'm going to say, well, thank you. And it sounds like you dealt with it very well. What would be really good is just teach him the bully proofing steps over the summer. Don't treat him as a victim. Tell him how impressed you were on how well he dealt with it. His confidence sounds great, so don't worry about that. Just get him to practice that I really couldn't care less approach, and make sure that you get him to tell you about any other incidences. So you stay calm and practice how he'll respond. And the what if game is really good. So what would you do if Oliver called you poo bum face, or how would you react if Sam took your school bag and ran off with it? That what if game is really useful for little children. Okay, so I'm just going to, I can't see any other questions on the Facebook page. Victoria, I'm just wondering, do you have any other questions for me?
Julie's just asked whether there'll be a video available of the talk, which there will be. We can certainly sort out a replay. So that's because she just said that her internet's gone in and out, which is you know, the joys of technology.
Oh, how frustrating.
And then I think Diane was just curious about how old your daughter is now. She asked.
Diane, really good question. Well, I have to say, I have in fact taken all my children through childhood. So my youngest child has now turned 18. So I now have 18, 20, 22 and 24. but all of the things that I'm teaching you, I've used at various stages on the children, and I've taught other parents to use them with much younger children. So I know they work. It's just about working out how they apply for your child.
Brilliant. Thank you. There's no questions yet. I know there's a bit of a delay. There's a sort of I'm not quite sure how long the delay is. It might be about 60 seconds or so. So if you have got any questions for Elizabeth, do take this opportunity just to pop them in the events page. There's a link at the bottom of the page where we are streaming from, to go over to the events page. But so while we're waiting, just for any last minute questions to come through, thank you so much for sharing all of that information, Elizabeth. That's been really, really useful, and there's things I can definitely take and use with Oliver already. So thank you.
Brilliant. I'm glad you managed to do it too, Victoria.
So you're in our group. You're in the event group anyway, and I'll add you to the More for Mums group as well. So you can. If there's any questions at all, I'm sure they can get in touch with you afterwards. Is that?
Yes, of course, no problem.
Fantastic.
No, I'd be happy to answer those, because it's really important. It's so important that you use this stuff and that you work out how to apply it. It will make such a difference to children's lives.
Absolutely, yeah. Just to give them that, it's giving them that strength and confidence, isn't it?
And a strategy that they know what to do, because often bullying flummoxes children and they're not sure how to react, and this actually tells them these are all the 10 steps and helps them feel that they can share that with their parents and talk to them about bullying, so the child feels protected and gets that protection all the way through their childhood.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. Oh, let me just see. I think a question's come. Hang on a second, we've got a question. Bear with me. So Sharon said, could you give an example of an activity you could do with a 3-year-old for the bully proofing? Can you think of anything?
Well, yes, do role play. You pretend to be the bully and your child is themselves, or you do it the other way around. You get your child to pretend to be a bully and you pretend to be the person reacting. With 3-year-old, that works really well. What's important is to have the conversations and also then to help them understand how that's going to work. So role play is a fantastic thing to use. I'm just not sure, is that answering your question?
That was Sharon there.
Yeah.
So yeah. Because of the delay.
Yes, of course.
To come through. But that definitely, I mean, that seems like something that I could definitely do with Oliver, a bit of role play and just to show him how to deal with it. So at 2.5. So hopefully that's helped Sharon.
Good.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, I'll take those links. If you could just share with me on email the links of where people can go if they do want some more information. I'll share that in the group as well, in case anyone wants to take it further and how they could work with you, because you do one-to-one as well, don't you, with parents?
Yes, and it makes such a big difference to children's lives. The reason I do what I do is because I love it so much, and I watch parents change the way they react to their children, and families just get transformed, and to me that's so important, and it's so valuable for families. So it's just to know that there's somebody there when their child is having a problem, and that every parent goes through problems. I had problems too, and there wasn't always someone to turn to, so it's just nice to know that there is somebody. And as I say, go to that website. There's loads of blogs there that you might find useful, and just have a rummage around. There's bound to be some things that are good there.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Sharon said that's great, so thank you for that.
Lovely. Good. Thank you so much for inviting me, Victoria, and I'll share that link.
Your evening, that's great. Lovely to spend the evening with you, so thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.